Welcome to Worldview Tube's Washington Report on this October 16th, 2025. I'm joined by my co-host Jim Pfaff of theconservativecaucus.org. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are y'all doing?
Good. We have big news out of DC tonight. We have John Bolton indicted. We have Trump had a press conference announcing some health care announcements, lowering the price of IVF and more. So let's get started. First off, we have John Bolton indicted over handling of classified information. And he's not just being indicted over the charges are some serious charges, right? He's being charged with espionage.
Yeah. He's apparently has a lot of classified material that he took, and much more than what the original search of his house and all the reporting around that, at least to me, indicated. And if it gets to the place of espionage, it's pretty huge. And listen, he was on a vendetta against Donald Trump. It seems to me, and no one's said this in any indictments or anything around it, but it seems to me he was utilizing that information to help him in his consulting business and as well. And then obviously to write his book, and I think he got a huge advance for that. So you listen, this kind of behavior really does have to stop. I do want to say it's important to remember the amount of material that is classified in the federal government is probably 70% more than really needs to be. A whole lot of classification in the federal government is for political reasons and for ways to hide other types of embarrassing things. By the way, sometimes to hide criminal behavior, but that's probably a smaller part of it. Most of what we classified should not be classified. I think it's just really stupid what we do classify sometimes. That said, the law is there. You have to follow it. And he did not. He clearly did not. And this distinguishes itself. Recently, Jack Smith, who indicted Donald Trump or attempted to indict him and moved for the Mar-a-Lago raid, et cetera, over the classified documents issue. Donald Trump was completely in his rights to declassify the information that he had. But Jack Smith tried to make an equivalence between Donald Trump's case and Joe Biden's case, where Joe Biden took classified material when he was vice president. He has no direct authorization to take classified material. Joe Biden's case falls in the John Bolton category, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Whereas Donald Trump's case does not. He landed in Florida at 11:30 a.m. on January 20th, 2021. He was still president of the United States, and presidents have executive authority. They can determine what can be classified or not. Donald Trump should never have had any investigations against him over classified material. That was a totally drummed up thing. The reason I'm talking about that is because we need to distinguish what is going on here. John Bolton is violating serious federal law, having taken classified documents without authorization. And so this is a serious case, and there's a lot more of this around there. James Comey's going to likely get something along those lines with this as well, as his investigation keeps going. Right now, it's just a perjury charge lying to Congress, but it could expand very well into taking classified documents. He distributed them to other people by his own admission, so I take it. And this is going to increase. This is something we've got to deal with. This is only the beginning, though. There's so much about the deep state stuff that needs to come out, more indictments to come. And even though it was fantastic hearing about the crime report yesterday in the White House, these guys have got to be aggressive, and they have to go over the deep state people. I'm glad that they got the FBI back in order in terms of just going after bad guys. That's wonderful, important. But these indictments over these deep state people need to happen, because we have to eradicate this from our system, or we are going to be in trouble in the future.
Yeah, and I don't know if anything will come of this, but there's also reports that Mike Pence might be implicated in some of this with John Bolton as well. Have you seen any of that?
I have heard some of that stuff. I don't have anything substantively to be able to make a strong comment one way or the other. But it is possible that he did that. I do not know for sure. It's challenged for me because Mike has been a very close friend in the past. Right now, we're not very close. I'm very critical of a lot of what he's done. But I got involved in my political career with Mike Pence's help, sitting in his office at Indiana Policy Review in 1992. He introduced me to my first political job. We went to church together. I have personal affinity for Mike and Karen, but I am concerned if he was participating in all of this. I hope not. I hope that's not the case, but who knows? I can say this, two people who I think, are possibly have coordinated with Mike are Paul Ryan and Mike Pompeo in some form or fashion. I mean, I don't know exactly how. Paul Ryan's a scoundrel, and I know that Mike and Paul were very close. Mike Pompeo, whom I do know, is an incredible scoundrel and was undermining what Donald Trump was doing during his presidency while he was CIA director and even while he was Secretary of State. And someone's got to really look at Mike Pompeo. This is someone who is a big problem in all this as well.
Yep. And I have a clip here of, sorry, I forgot his name right before I went to it. Mike Davis, who's been plugged into all this on Bannon's show with Natalie Winters. Let's listen to some of this.
I'm reading through this 20-page indictment, Natalie. It's out of the District of Maryland. The U.S. Attorney in the District of Maryland is a career federal prosecutor. They worked with the National Security Division in Main Justice. There are several career attorneys' names on this indictment. So this is not a political indictment. It's a very serious indictment. You're looking at 18 different counts against John Bolton. I think 8 of them were for transmitting national defense information. That means he was sending national defense information apparently through his AOL account or his personal email accounts. And then they got him for 10 counts of retaining national defense information. These are very serious espionage charges. And what's so damning for John Bolton in this indictment is they go through in this indictment to show his knowledge and intent. They go through and quote John Bolton in the past for when he's talked about how doing the very things he allegedly did here is a very serious national security crime, espionage. And they go through these documents, and some of these documents are top secret with code names. So these are beyond top secret documents for, as far as I can tell, from his time as the president's national security advisor. So he had access to the most classified information in all of our governments, and he's sending it via personal email, and he's retaining it. So you're not going to be able to say this is a political case here with the career prosecutors in the District of Maryland, the career prosecutors at Main Justice, and the National Security Division, and just the magnitude of the number of classified documents, highly classified documents that he sent and that he retained. He's in a very deep hole, and it looks like John Bolton, if these allegations are true, he's going to go to prison for a very long time.
Wow. Well, there you go. And they're not going to be able to claim, as you said, that this is political because, I mean, they have him dead to rights, and these are career prosecutors who are going after him. These aren't recent Trump-appointed prosecutors.
I remember when John Bolton first came on the scene as a stand-in at the UN Security Council as the ambassador to the UN Security Council, heading up that. Not UN Security Council, but UN ambassador, excuse me. And everyone thought, man, tough guy. This was great. He really read the Riot Act to the UN, and he came on the scene with that sort of a reputation. But the further you go down the line, you realize this guy is entirely deep state. By the time Donald Trump came out, I mean, I can't tell you how I was rolling my eyes when Donald Trump brought him on board in his first administration. John Bolton epitomizes the neocon deep state, the warmongering deep state that has loved to send us into conflict in every way possible. And what's really sad about this is we have allowed this sort of person to continue to linger in government for decades now. And we have needed for a long time to clean house on these sorts of things. Now, I would have guessed that what he was doing was just finding a way to make sure he had the information that he could write in his book to go after Donald Trump. But this sounds far more serious than that. And he should go to jail for a long time if that's what he was doing. We cannot have this kind of behavior in the federal government. I mean, what also happens with these regular federal employees is they come out of government and make hundreds of thousands, nay, sometimes millions of dollars in consulting and contractor work. And we need that revolving door to stop. It's one of the worst aspects of the federal government and federal employees, because there's so many areas in the federal government where people can go in and out in different administrations and make a huge amount of money after that. That incentive has to stop. When people talk about federal employees, there's all the regular problems that we have with why are you doing these useless jobs that we don't need to be spending money on in government. It's even worse than that. These people who the Democrats laud as wonderful public servants, there is such incentive for corruption in the whole federal system. And this will send a message to everyone there that you are going to jail if you're found out. And then we're going to have to keep backing this up with administrations that are willing to take this stuff seriously as well so we can get these prosecutions.
Yep. And we have the release from the DOJ says the indictment alleges that Bolton illegally transmitted NDI by using personal email and messaging application accounts to send sensitive documents classified as high as top secret. These documents revealed intelligence about future attacks, foreign adversaries, and foreign policy relations. The indictment also alleges that Bolton illegally retained NDI documents within his home. Did he even have access to these documents in the first place?
As national security advisor, yeah, absolutely he did.
But you can't go sending them around.
Well, he took them with him from the White House in some form or fashion. Mm-hmm. That's clear. He maintained a security clearance afterwards, so it is possible that he was going in to get more during the Biden administration. Who knows? There might be someone who was in the Biden administration allowing him to access things so he could continue his plethora of criticism against Donald Trump. That's a possibility. That it doesn't say that in this indictment. I'm just saying that that seems to be a possibility. But yeah, he would have taken it with him. And how stupid can you be sending these things through public email systems that we already know that the federal government has unconstitutional access to? Mm-hmm. So now in this case, when you're doing an investigation, you can get warrants and you can go after that sort of thing. And on that basis alone, he should have been so stupid as to think he couldn't be found out for what he was doing. Yeah,
especially being in the position he was in. I mean, you have to know he knew about these things, right?
I mean, I worked in Congress for a while, and I know this thing. But, it doesn't take me or a John Bolton to know that this can be done. The average American knows this can be done.
Yeah.
They're not dumb. It's absolutely crazy what's going on there. And again, this kind of behavior needs to be punished. We cannot have this. Jonathan Pollard, back in the 1980s, was a federal employee who was giving information to Israel, our ally, illegally. He went to jail for 30 years for doing that. He was giving classified information to an ally, much less someone who's an enemy or a potential enemy of the country. Mm-hmm. And he went to prison. We need to be more consistent in this because there's a lot of it that goes on all the time. So, kudos to DOJ for pulling this case together with the help of FBI.
Yep. Well, we have to go to a break, but when we come back, we'll talk about the New York City mayoral race, and it's looking like more and more like Mamdani's going to win it. And then we have Smartmatic has been indicted. So we'll cover that here in just a moment when we come right back after this break.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
All right, welcome back from the break. We have news on the New York City mayoral race. I guess there's polls out or predictions from Caucus, the prediction site. They're giving Mamdani an 87% chance of winning. And Patrick Bet-David tweeted today, "Love him or hate him, Mamdani is everywhere. 3 times more interviews than Como. His ideas are crazy, but at this pace, he's looking like New York City's next mayor. Mamdani is campaigning as if he's behind, while Como is campaigning as if he's ahead. Trump always campaigned as if he was behind, even when he was ahead. All the money in the world won't help Como unless he doubles down urgency." So it's looking like Mamdani is going to win this thing. Do you think there will be a nationwide push for a candidate like Mamdani in 2028?
I don't think so. I think that what Mamdani's going to do is bring the Democrat Party down over time. Mm-hmm. It's going to be if he ends up running his administration the way he promises, you are going to see problem after problem come about. You just can't do otherwise. And he's going to have, by that time, 3 years to have destroyed New York City. So we'll see what he does. Honestly, he's not going to likely have any better popularity than, say, Bill de Blasio had. And he was not at all popular. De Blasio made waves like he was going to try to run for the Democrat nomination. You just can't do that. I mean, even Rudy Giuliani, who had a fantastic tenure as New York City mayor, had a problem trying to win the Republican nomination for president that he attempted to do beginning back in 2007 for the 2008 race. And frankly, we probably would have been a lot better off if he had run for president than John McCain that year. But that said, Mamdani is going to actually bring the Democrat Party down if he administrates, the city the way he says he's going to. And he is likely to win. Now, Caucus is a site where you've kind of got betting on what people think are going to happen. It's a good indicator of what's likely to happen in the sense that people are putting money on the line and they're serious. They have to do serious research to try to not lose what they bet on. So these kinds of sites are useful in getting a good sense of what's going to happen. And they shift according to the news, obviously. So I think it's probably roughly accurate that there's an 87% chance he wins. Cuomo, if he wins, it doesn't really matter because Cuomo is going to manage New York City just as poorly as Mamdani will. He might not. He's not going to go so far as to directly drive corporations out. He'll be a radical corporatist. Mamdani is likely to take on all the corporations, which may send a lot of financial institutions down to Texas where they're starting their own stock exchange. Like the New York Stock Exchange may have a competitor in Dallas, Texas. And Mamdani may make that happen more quickly than one might otherwise think. So these are some of the dynamics that are there. But in terms of helping Democrats, I think he tears them down more than lifts them up by 2028.
Yeah, I think him winning will probably open a lot of eyes to show that a candidate like him just won't work, and his ideas and policies just won't work. But in other news, we have Miami federal grand jury indicts Smartmatic. Voting technology provider Smartmatic was charged Thursday with conspiring to bribe foreign officials and money laundering over a decade-old effort to win business in the Philippines. Well, there you go. I mean, we've been talking about this forever, and I think Mike Lindell is still in a lawsuit with Smartmatic.
Yeah, he is. Here's my question for people. If Smartmatic is willing to do this in a foreign country, are they willing to do it in ours?
Yeah.
These companies make lots of money, a lot of money, by selling their voting systems in our country. I mean, is what I'm asking people the same kind of corruption that they were doing in the Philippines? Maybe not. I mean, Philippines operates sometimes as a third world country. It's had its good days and its bad politically, but this is how these companies are operating. I am really convinced that we have got to get away from computer voting machines of any sort. Definitely touchscreens should never be allowed in this country ever again. Like, Congress needs to pass the law that says that may not happen, and Congress can pass such laws. So we got to get rid of voting machines. Now, scanning machines, maybe we can do, as long as we have ballot custody issues taken care of. You can look at the paper ballots, and that would be fine. But to help the process along. But in candor, we used to count these ballots by hand, precinct by precinct, rather than having these large precincts where you have multiple precincts all trying to count ballots together, and that's a problem too. There are a whole lot of issues to voting, but we need to get away from these voting machines. I'm not, even Dominion just got bought out by some company, and I'm not even convinced that that's anything useful. I think you're just going to see the same problems potentially there, and that needs to be. They're trying to say we believe in America. We want to have an open process. Okay, fine, but touch screens are just not safe. So we need to absolutely change our voting system back to paper records, same-day voting. This is just one of a myriad of evidences of how problematic these computer voting machines are.
Yep, and I believe Dominion settled all their lawsuits except for two that would not settle, one being Mike Lindell and the other being Patrick Burns. So those lawsuits are still going, even though they sold, because they said they're not. Mike said he's not settling. He's not going to accept defeat, which he thinks the settling would be. So we'll keep following that. Another person who was indicted recently, Letitia James, I guess she came out today calling it baseless retribution. Let's see what she has to say.
I would say what she said. But first of all, the decision was based on the Administrative Procedure Act, an arbitrary and capricious act by this agency, and an unlawful act. And so too is the indictment. It's baseless. It's nothing more than retribution. Retribution for basically doing my job. For doing my job following a 2-year investigation in a congressional hearing. It wasn't political. It was based on facts and the application of the evidence. And the judgment was sustained. The amount of the disgorgement was what was dismissed. But the judgment remains. And so at this point in time, we will vigorously defend those charges, those baseless charges. My arraignment, as you know, is next Friday. I visit Norfolk quite frequently. My family is in Norfolk. I love my family. And I will defend these charges. And I want everyone to know that it is completely baseless and I am totally innocent. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, there you go. She says her pursuit of Trump was not political.
2 words: bull crap. I do not believe this woman at all. And don't talk about retribution. You were going after Donald Trump in your campaign speeches. I mean, the reality of this woman is she represents the most corrupt of the corrupt aspects of our judicial system right now. We need a judicial system that will actually dispense justice and stay from politics. She committed the crime, and she's going to have her fine. Have your day in court. Try to case. Every bit of the evidence that I see seems to indicate that she's guilty. That's going to take place in a court of law. But let's be very, very real here. There was a committed and coordinated effort by Biden's Department of Justice under Merrick Garland to bring cases against Donald Trump in state courts where no pardon could ensue. That was purposely the effort. That's why this thing came up with Letitia James. I mean, she was willing to take it on, but the Biden Justice Department coordinated with her to do this, as well as in Alvin Bragg's case, as well as in the Georgia case, because they wanted state cases that would not be pardonable from the federal level, at least, in states where governors would not pardon them under state laws and rules. But there's another thing about Donald Trump. He's pristine when it comes to all this stuff. The other thing that Donald Trump is doing is he is bringing about justice again in this country, because look at all the lawsuits that have come against him since he came into office. And he has not violated a one of them. He's allowed the justice system to work. He has gone to appeals courts where he's winning like crazy these lawsuits. We know that this is a continuation of the lawfare because these circuit courts or district courts, the district courts with really crazy judges are allowing these lawsuits to start. They put injunctions against him. They shut him down in every way they can. And then the appeals courts are knocking it down, or at least knocking major portions of it down in every case. That establishes justice. The injustice that Letitia James represents is continuing in these district court cases that keep coming against Trump now, and Donald Trump is handling it with justice, without pushing back, establishing our justice system for the future. So Letitia James can talk about political prosecutions all she wants. Donald Trump is not being political. What they are doing against people who happen to be his political enemies is going after cases that are precisely related to real wrongdoing. John Bolton, Letitia James, I think we're going to find that with James Comey. We've got potentially indictments coming against John Brennan and others. This is really on the right track, and it's good for our justice system and good for the American people. And whatever her outcome is in her case, if she wins, good for her. But if not, what I see on paper says that she was lying, and now she's trying to argue herself out of it publicly, which is also stupid and proves what kind of lawyer she is. No lawyer at all would be making the comments she just made. Just FYI, throw that in there at the end.
Yeah, she literally ran. Her platform was get Trump. That was her ads. Her whole campaign was about getting Trump. Well,
yeah, it says everything about who she was as a prosecutor. Mm-hmm. She wasn't being a prosecutor. She was being a Trump destroyer. Yeah. And oh, by the way, we'll prosecute this or that thing. Frankly, we're not going to prosecute a lot of stuff because in her jurisdiction, there's a lot of criminality that keeps going that she's not prosecuting. So, don't try to fake it, girl. You're bad.
Yep. And I think one of the leaders in this prosecution is Ed Martin, along with our buddies working with Neil McCabe. I remember the video a couple months ago of them going out by her house and her neighbor coming out and getting on to him, and they had some fun with that.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. Neil's a great friend.
Well, we have Trump responding to the UN's, I guess the UN is proposing a global carbon tax. And he says, I am outraged that the International Maritime Organization is voting in London this week to pass a global carbon tax. The United States will not stand for this global green new scam tax on shipping and will not adhere to it in any way, shape, or form. We will not tolerate increased prices on American consumers or the creation of a green new scam bureaucracy to spend your money on their green dreams. Stand with the United States and vote no in London tomorrow. So it's just more green scam that they're trying to push. And
Donald Trump, pull the UN funding. Get us out of the UN. Kick them out of New York. Tell them to go figure it out themselves. Go play your own games. We're not playing.
Yep, exactly. But I mean, even Hawaii, I think, is pushing some of these agendas. I mean, not in that exact form, but they're doing carbon taxes. When you go to Hawaii, I believe you have to pay a carbon footprint tax on different things that you buy and use over there. So.
Well, 90% of all the taxes in California are in effect carbon taxes. They're totally committed to it as well. You see this in Oregon and Washington, New York, other places. One of the big arguments in the Jack Ciattarelli, Mikey Sherrill governor's race in New Jersey is over the stupid green policies, which have made their electricity go crazy, and their desire to mess up one of their golden eggs is the New Jersey shore. where a lot of revenue comes in through people going down to enjoy their beaches, and they want to destroy them with, or have want to destroy them with windmills. I mean, so the whole green thing is a scam. It's stupid. It's useless. Go away from it.
Yep. Well, we're all out of time for tonight. We'll be back on Monday with the new show. Until then, take care.
Tonight on the World View Report, President Trump threatens to forcibly disarm Hamas if the